Alright, so according to distributive property, if we look at the first question, this 4 needs to be multiplied by every term inside the bracket. So I can draw arrows to show what it's going to be multiplied by. Then you get 4 times 3x. 4 times 3 is 12, so that's 12x. And 4 times positive 1 is positive 4. So 12x plus 4 is your final answer. Okay, on to the next. Now we have a negative 5 being multiplied by every term inside the brackets. So you take your negative 5. Again, you can draw arrows to show which multiplications you're going to be doing. Negative 5 times positive 2x squared. So negative 5 times positive 2 is negative 10. So you get a negative 10x squared. Negative 5 times positive x. So that's a negative 5 times a positive 1, really, is a negative 5. So negative 5x. Then negative 5 times negative 6. Remember, a negative times a negative equals a positive. So you get positive 30. There's your answer. For part C, it doesn't matter where the x squared is, whether it's in front of the brackets or behind. Usually we write it in front just because it's convenient to do that way. But it means the same thing. It means everything inside this bracket needs to be multiplied by x squared. So x cubed times x squared and negative 2 times x squared. So if you do x cubed times x squared, remember x cubed is really x times x times x. So if we multiply that by x squared, which is x times x, you get x times x times x times x times x, which equals x to the 5th. This is your exponent law, so if you have two things that have the same base, like x to the power of 3 and x to the power of 2, the base is the number that's on the bottom, so these have the same base, both x, and they're being multiplied together. You need to add their exponents together. So 3 plus 2 is 5, x to the 5th. Okay, so now that you're sure how to deal with the exponents, let's get back and do this question. So we need x cubed times x squared. X cubed and x squared, they both have the same base of x, so we add their exponents. X to the power of 3 plus 2 is 5. And then a negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared, so minus 2x squared. If it makes you feel more comfortable, you can rewrite this question so that the x squared is in front. And you'll get the exact same thing. X squared times x cubed is x to the 5th. X squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. So there's your final answer. Last one. Okay, so now this negative 3x needs to be multiplied by every term inside the bracket. So I'll draw arrows again to show what I'm multiplying. So negative 3x times 7x, so first you multiply the numbers together. Negative 3 times positive 7 is a negative 21. Then the variables, x times x is x squared. Now we have negative 3x times negative 2y. Again, multiply the numbers together. Negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. X times y is just xy. Last, negative 3x times positive z. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. X times z is x z. So negative 3x times positive z is negative 3xz. And there's your answer.